Buffy was an icon in the late 90s and early 2000s, a role model for young women. Buffy taught young women how to be proud of themselves and how to stand up for themselves. So she was a very important part of the media landscape. Now, I recognize that Buffy is based off of a comic book series. I have not read the comic book series, so everything that I will be putting together here is based off of the Buffy in the TV show. Let's get started. Getting started with the basics here, we have, of course, going to be a human. Now, the starting class is going to be Barbarian, and this probably sounds a bit weird, but stay with me. We're going to start with Barbarian instead of the primary class that I'm going to choose for her, so that she gets her unarmored defense based on her Constitution stat, not her Wisdom stat, as unarmored defense between classes does not stack, and it will default to the first one you get access to. Barbarian may seem like an odd choice, I get it, but I'm using it for a few reasons. One is so that she gets access to a wide variety of weapon proficiencies, and two is because she is indeed reckless in both decision-making and her fighting. So when we take Barbarian, we unlock Rage. For the background, we're going to go with Folk Hero. The reason for this choice is because, for one thing, it's on theme. She is a champion of the common people. She does slay monsters and protect the helpless. And although animal handling itself isn't super on point, I don't think she ever has a pet, really. Survival is. All right, for the stat points, we are going to be focusing on strength and dexterity mostly. So we're going to have the +2 in strength. Now, we're just going to bring this up to 15 for now. There is a reason for it. We're taking a feat later on that will bump it up by one more. The dex, we're going to put the +1 under there, and we're going to bring that up to 16. Con is going to come up to 14. We don't want it too low. She is a little bit tanky. And then the rest of them are going to just be 10. Average. For the skills, we already get animal handling and survival. For the last three, we're going to do athletics and acrobatics because of the way she moves around the battlefield and her fighting style. And then we're also going to do perception because of her being very aware of her surroundings and enemy positions. All right, let's now move on to appearance. For appearance, we will do body type 1. The voice I feel is the closest is voice 4. For the head, I will admit none of these really work all that well, but I felt like head 4 was sort of close. She's got kind of a narrow face and a narrow nose. For the skin color, we are going to go with warm 3. For eyes, her eyes appear to actually be blue, but because of the shade of blue they are, gray 1 actually looks a lot closer than any of the blue options here. So we're going to go with that. For the makeup, we're going to go with makeup 1. Go into the eye makeup color and just turn that up to 100%. And then for lip tint, we're going to go with red cold 2. And we're just going to turn the intensity up to about 30%. And then the glossy level up to 50%. Now for the hair, there are a couple hairstyles here that work, as Buffy does change her hairstyle throughout the course of the series, but the one I felt made her look a little more like the actress was Bardic Inspiration. This one is a little bit on the longer side, and we know that Buffy does tend to wear her hair somewhere around shoulder or slightly below length, and her hair tends to be a little bit on the wavy side, except when it has quite visibly been straightened. So we're going to go with this one. The hair color is going to be blonde gold 3, but we also know from very visible roots that she's a brunette underneath. So we're going to go into highlights, brown 3, and turn that up to just about 30% so that you can see some brown peeking out from underneath. And that will do it for the appearance. Let's move on to the build. Alright, getting started with the build section. For level 2, we are going to switch over to what is going to be the primary class for this build, which is Monk. And at the first level of Monk, you unlock Unarmored Defense, Dexterous Attacks, Deft Strikes, and bonus Unarmed Strike. And unlike the Oberon build, where some of the stuff of Monk didn't really fit in all that well, with the Buffy build, because she does often use hand-to-hand combat. However, make sure to ignore the unarmored defense part here, as she will be using that feature from the Barbarian class, not the Monk class. We also get our Flurry of Blows action. For level 3 Monk, we unlock 3 new actions, which will be Patient Defense. Attack rolls against you have disadvantage. You have advantage on dex saving throws. Step of the Wind Dash, double your movement speed. Jump no longer requires a bonus action. And Step of the Wind Disengage, retreat to safety by disengaging. Jump no longer requires a bonus action. Just like with the level 2 Monk features, the level 3 Monk features also work really well because of Buffy's natural toughness and impressive mobility. And then at level 3 Monk, it is time to choose the subclass, which I think this is pretty obvious, but it's going to be Way of the Open Hand. And as I said earlier, this is really good for her because she does go hand-to-hand in a lot of combat. So you unlock Flurry of Blows Topple, Flurry of Blows Stagger, and Flurry of Blows Push. At level 4 Monk, it is time to choose the first feat. And we are going to go with something we haven't gotten to use yet, so I'm excited about this. We're going to go with Tavern Brawler. When you make an unarmed attack, use an improvised weapon, or throw something, your strength modifier is added twice to the damage and attack rolls. So the reason that we left the strength at 15 in the beginning was because we were going to take this feat, and you have to apply an ability point either in strength or constitution, so this is where we even out strength to 16. At level 5 Monk, we get that handy extra attack. We also unlock Stunning Strike for melee and Stunning Strike for unarmed. And then at level 6 Monk, we unlock a few things that are still applicable and a few things that aren't really. All of these subclass features aren't really in line with a Buffy build, considering that she's not really magic per se. She is supernatural, but what does fit here is the improved unarmored movement. Your movement speed increases by 4.5 meters while you're not wearing armor or using a shield, which will always be the case for Buffy. And key empowered strikes, your unarmored attacks count as magical for the purpose of overcoming enemies' resistance and immunity to non-magical weapon. This fits in really well because she is so often fighting against enemies that are magical in some way and might have immunity to non-magical damage. We also have Wholeness of Body here, which is a little bit of a stretch. Regain half your key points and enter a temporary state of wholeness where you regain key points and have extra bonus action. It also does 18 healing, so it's not fully applicable to the Buffy build, but I don't feel like it's so far out that it's really going to take away from the build in any way. And now at level 7 Monk, you unlock Evasion. Your agility lets you dodge out of the way of certain spells. When a spell or effect would deal half damage on a successful dex saving throw, it deals no damage if you succeed and only half damage if you fail. And then Stillness of Mind. If you're charmed or frightened, you automatically cast Stillness of Mind to remove the condition. I feel like these features really represent Buffy's ability to resist evil influences and, of course, her athleticism in evading attacks. And then at level 8 Monk, it is time to choose a new feat. And for this one, we're going to go with Mage Slayer. When a creature casts a spell within melee range of you, you have advantage on any saving throw against it, and you can use a reaction to immediately make an attack against the caster. Enemies you hit have disadvantage on concentration saving throws. Now, the reason that I'm choosing this feat is because it is going to be a flavor choice for Buffy being a Vampire Slayer. There is no special Vampire Slayer feat, class feature, etc. in here, so Mage Slayer is the closest we can get. Now that we are at level 10, it is time to switch back to Barbarian and finish off that part. So at level 2 Barbarian, you unlock Danger Sense. You sense when things aren't as they should be. You have advantage on dex saving throws against traps, spells, and surfaces. To gain this benefit, you can't be blinded or incapacitated. And Reckless Attack. And this is really why I wanted to do the Barbarian class for her, not just to spice things up a little bit, but because Danger Sense and Reckless Attack are very pertinent to Buffy. And then at level 11, it's time to choose a subclass, and this one I had to go back and forth on for a bit. At first, I thought I was going to give her Berserker, but then I realized the Frenzied stuff, it doesn't really fit all that well with her. However, if we go with Wild Heart, and then choose a Bestial Heart of the Elk, while raging, you can use Primal Stampede and your movement speed increases by 4.5 meters. So by doing this, we're giving her even more mobility on the battlefield, and I think that should be a prime focus of her build, is making sure that she is very mobile on the battlefield, which is what we see from her in the show over and over again. So we're going to go with that. Just make sure to turn piercings onto none. And then at the final level, we're just going to finish it off in Barbarian here so that we can get that additional feat. And for the last one, we are going to choose Savage Attacker. When making melee weapon attacks, you roll your damage die twice and use the highest result. And that will do it for the build. Let's move on to the bonus section. One of the iconic weapons from the Buffy series is often referred to as the scythe, but it looks like an axe with the end of the handle fashioned into a stake. It was an ancient weapon designed specifically for the Slayer. A great stand-in for this is the Undead Bane, a great axe that you can pick up in Act 3. This axe is a great flavor win because of its abilities. Slay the Wicked. This weapon deals an additional 1d6 slashing damage against fiends and undead, and Profane Scourge. Add your proficiency bonus to the damage roll. If you hit a fiend or undead creature, it deals an additional 2d6 slashing damage and possibly banes it. Buffy uses a variety of weapons, including crossbows. A crossbow that works well for the Vampire Slayer is actually from another Vampire Slayer, Gandrel, in Act 1. Gandrel's aspiration has two special features. Feller of Monsters, you have advantage against monstrosity-type enemies, and, more importantly, Sacred Munitions. Infuse your crossbow bolts with holy energy. For the rest of the turn, your ranged weapon attacks inflict turned against undead. Early on for clothing, you can use the Graceful Cloth, which can be purchased in Act 1. This rare clothing offers two benefits. Cat's Grace, you gain Cat's Grace and increase your dex by 2 to a maximum of 20, and Nimble as a Cat. You gain a +1 bonus to your dexterity saving throws and also increase your jump distance by 1.5 meters. If you would like your build to focus more on strength than dex, you can switch to the Mighty Cloth in Act 2. This rare clothing offers 3 benefits. Bull Strength. You gain Bull Strength and increase your strength by 2 to a maximum of 20. Unwavering Bull. You cannot be pushed against your will, and you have advantage on saving throws against being restrained. And Bull Rush, charge forward and possibly knock your foes back 3 meters. Once you get to Act 3, it would be beneficial and flavorful to switch to Veil of the Morning. Like the Great Axe, it offers some great effects against undead. Let the undead blanch with fear. Undead have disadvantage on attack rolls against you, and you have advantage on saving throws against their actions and spells, and turn undead. For an extra flavor win, have Buffy choose Astarion as her romantic partner. He's a good stand-in for Spike. And that will do it for the Buffy build. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider leaving a comment, a like, and subscribing. We're on our way to 900 subs. Thanks for watching.